welcome back to another episode of Fun. It's your Chuckle King here, Dan. Once again, presiding over a show where we take fun seriously. All right, I take it very seriously. I live my life one fun moment at a time, just waiting for the next fun moment to happen. With me, as always, on this podcast is my one true the Chuckle Wizard. He gave himself this title, by the way. I didn't give him the Chuckle Wizard. You barely chuckle at all. You more do like a nose exhale and a smile. So, well, when I even get you the hardest,
make me laugh, Dan, and you'll see.
Hey, I'm not some puppet for you to pull strings and tell me what to do.
You are king of chuckle. You are the king of doing chuckle, and I am the wizard of making chuckle.
Yeah, you make me chuckle a lot. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's true.
But I would say, I'm just going to throw it out there. Chuckle Mage, I think, is more powerful than a Chuckle Wizard. Chuckle Wizard is too much. But if you're the Chuckle Mage, everybody watch out. All right, the Chuckle Mage is here.
Wizard's a more fun word than mage.
Yeah, I guess I've just been watching too much Harry Potter, and now I just have like...
Yeah, knowing the word mage instantly gets you thrown in a locker. You know, like mage is too...
Okay, what about Chuckle Sorcerer? All right, we've already taken too much time.
Chuckle Sorcerer, I like that.
Nathan, have you done your stretches?
I am stretched. I am ready to go. I am so excited to talk about a thing I will never ever do. Because
ditto.
I need to be. I think this is a very unique episode because we have someone that is going to have to convince us that the topic is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Right. I'm on the edge. I'm on the edge of glory, as Lady Gaga would say, about whether or not... And last time I talked to this man, he almost got me there. I'm going to be honest with you. He almost got me. I was like, okay, my days of obesity are over, guys. I've been convinced to run with a Disney twist, and then I found out how much it cost. Everybody welcome the purveyor of RunDisney stories, the king of all theme park content on Rooster Teeth. It's Mr. Jack Pattillo. Hey, Jack, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You are like a mystery because you're a theme park Texas video game man.
Yeah, who
has found himself as a Disney adult jogger, a Disney adult marathoner.
Yeah,
and that is a niche beyond niche. You know what I mean? When people are like making fun of Disney adults, they're not talking about you, sir. They respect you because if they knew what you were up to at the parks, they'd be like, "Oh, I can't do that."
Yeah. It's. I mean, I've been a big fan of theme parks my whole life, and so my sort of love of RunDisney kind of popped up around a midlife crisis. So I don't know if you guys remember, but back in like 2020, there was this pandemic that was a nightmare, and I think like pretty much everyone put on like the pandemic 20 or 15 or whatever, and so
sure.
I kind of went through that where it was like,
not me, baby. I have my Life 150 on since middle school, and I've just kept that consistent. And
nice.
I went to college, I didn't gain weight. Coronavirus didn't make me get, because baby, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready when it comes to weight gain.
Okay. Well, I put on a bunch of weight, and I was kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, that sucks, and I wasn't happy with that. And so back in the day, forever ago, I used to kind of just like jog. That was kind of my thing. That's how I lost weight, and I was like, I should start doing that again. And then I did it a little bit, and then around June of 2020, when everyone thought like, oh, fall, COVID will be done, or COVID will be over.
Yeah, sure.
Or was it June, or was it 2021? Maybe it was 2020. I don't know. Anyway, RunDisney was like, we're coming back. We're doing a marathon weekend in January. And signups were available, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to sign up for a marathon because it was, I think I turned 40 on January 3rd, which was like a Wednesday, and the marathon was like on the 9th, which was the Sunday.
Oh my God.
So I was like, you know what?
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to turn 40 and run a marathon because
this is the 26.2 marathon, right?
Yeah, full-blown marathon.
I have that on the agenda. I want to talk to you about this marathon.
Okay.
And thank you for answering my first question, by the way, because my first question was, are you a runner? before? Did you exercise before?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, like I wasn't like in track and field in high school or anything, or in college. Like it was just kind of one of those things. Like when I wanted to like exercise, I enjoy running because I can kind of turn my brain off and like just have headphones on and just listen to music and kind of look up. And I'm like, oh my god, I've been going for an hour. Okay. And when I say run, I'm not running the whole time. Most of the time, usually it's like kind of like a walk run type situation. So by all means, I am not a professional athlete.
Dan, have you done any running, like ever?
I'm very quick on my feet for such a large man, but no, I don't.
You have Jack Black syndrome.
Yeah, I do have Jack Black syndrome. I can dance, I can move. I'm a theater major. Believe it or not, I got a 2-step in me, and I dad dance. I dad run.
Sure.
Like that. That's just But I have being a large man, I have legs. I have the strongest. I have the underwear model legs, guys. My legs just are so handsome and fit, but I have the torso of a manatee, so it makes running hard. You know what I mean? Because you're carrying a lot of baggage. So I'm more of a cross trainer in the gym. I like some weights, like some free weights, but running, not for me. It's just not for me. Like
what I think is interesting is, Jack, you said that you could dial out, like when you're in it, like you kind of zone. You have that zen. Man, I am just. When I ran, I was just constantly looking at the clock. Like it was I couldn't get my brain to not be like, how much longer do I have to do this? As much as I would try, I could watch.
So you would run for time as opposed to for distance?
Both. It wouldn't matter.
Okay.
You know, it was just that little digital thing. I just I could upset.
I'm jealous that you can turn your mind off when you run, because for me, going to the gym, I mean, obviously I have terrible ADD. You're listening to this podcast, you know how terribly damaged Dan's brain is. And so to Nathan's point, I cannot watch a counter. Like I can't, if there's a number in front of me. So what I would do, and I am truly insane. This is how I would life hack my ADD is I would bring my iPad. I would set it over top of the device, like whatever the device was. I would set it to whatever routine, and then I could dial out by putting up a tower defense game on my iPad, watching like Hulu or YouTube in the corner of my iPad while like actively like having my phone nearby to receive. And I would just immediately text like 12 people, be like, just try to start a conversation with somebody, because then, and only then, if I was playing tower defense, watching YouTube and having a couple of casual text conversations, then my mind would unplug and I could exercise for endless amounts of time. But you can't do that while you're running. You can't carry like a dinner TV tray with an iPad and you can't do that. So
I'm impressed with that dexterity, man. Like when I run, I am all over the place. I'm a bigger guy too, and so it's like when I run, it's a lot of weight moving. So there's no easy way for me to keep steady,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you don't need a lot of dexterity when you're playing Balloons 7 on a cross trainer at your local fitness. You just need to place those monkeys, and then you hit the play button. You know what I mean? Like, it's easy.
Oh man. No, that's one of the issues for me is I'm in Texas, and so it gets very, very hot here. And so we've actually had a nice summer this summer, but like last summer we had like 70 days over 100 degrees. So I have for me, I got to do the treadmill here in town, and that's frustrating for me. I would much rather be outside running because I love nature and I also love people watching. And so we have some really great trails in the Austin area where you can kind of like one of my favorite things is like you start doing the same time every like few days or whatever, and you start seeing the same people, and then you start inventing stories for these people because it's like, oh, like what's their backstory? Like there was one woman who I would see all the time, and she was like super tall. She was maybe like 6'2", super tall, very skinny, and she always looked pissed off. So I was like, oh, she's the angry marathoner. So she was always like, she just ran so smoothly, but she's like always
Splash
looked
Mountain
mad.
Mom.
Yeah,
so she remember that one Splash Mountain photo of that angry woman on the back of the flume, and then that woman found out everyone was making fun of her, so she made a Twitter account to try to like novelize herself and get like have like a little virality and get her, and then no one cared about her tweets, and so she just disappeared. God bless her. R.I.P. Splash Mountain Mom. I'm sure she's still with us, but that account's dead.
She's off to the land with Chewbacca Mask Mom.
Oh yeah,
I love Chewbacca Mask Mom.
I
still have that Chewbacca
mom
mask.
life.
Viral mom land. I love that. I love that you create stories for people when you exercise, because I do the same exact thing when I go to the gym, and there are people there all the time, and I just have to invent incredible tales in my mind about the lives of these people, and I'm glad I'm not the only one who does that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the same deal with the gym. There's few people there. It's like, oh, okay, like I know that guy, and you start reckoning. And then once you've gone to the gym enough that you start doing the head nod to people, like this, like the sign of like, I know who you are. It's like, what's up? And you never talk to them. Just kind of like.
I would argue actually, it's once you're head nodding in the locker room that you know you've truly ascended to a relationship of casuality with these people. You know,
it's eyes above board in the locker room. Always is eye contact in the locker room.
Eyes fully wandering in the locker room.
Yeah, no eyes down and nodding. No, like, okay, all right, I see. All right.
No, man. We're all men in there. It's okay. Let your eyes wander. It's okay. Explore. You know.
Dan treats a locker room like a museum. Apparently, it's all look.
Yeah, I do. It's a children's museum. It's a please touch museum.
No.
I gotta go. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Gonna mark this as a clip for viral. We're gonna go ahead and just put that in the court record.
I don't know about you guys. I'm currently unemployed, looking for work. I don't know if I can have this.
Yeah, I suddenly am also unemployed. So
great.
Thanks, Dan.
Oh my gosh. So I like how you snuck into Run Disney, Jack, through like the COVID lull. Yeah. Because from what I understand about Run Disney is like when those registrations open, they are packed. Like they get sold out very quickly. And so there was that lull though after COVID where people like did not go back to the parks for a hot second. And I imagine that kind of like opened the door for a lot of activities for you to join into that otherwise you might have been like locked out. I'm sure right after COVID would have been a great time to join Club 33. I'm just saying. Like I'm sure that the list was a lot shorter then, and the same thing applies for Run Disney. So what was it like? What did you know about Run Disney? Like that you're like, all right, I'm going to do this. Like what was it? Did you have a podcast episode with some? Like how did you get the Run Disney bug? You could just run anywhere.
Yeah. So for me, it was so I did the math in my head. It was 2022 was my first marathon I did. So that means in June of 2021 is when I registered for it. So typically, like you said, Run Disney, when they put up registration, it goes immediately. It goes very, very fast, especially for marathon weekends. So for Run Disney, they only have one marathon they do a year, and it's in January. They do half marathons in October, November, and then like in January, February, March. I think in March is a 10 miler, but so there's only one marathon weekend, and this was the one. So it was 2021. Registration went up, I want to say like in March, and just didn't fill up because it was one of those things where it was COVID, and so people didn't know if it was going to happen or not. So no one really signed up for it, and so it was June, I think, when I signed up for it, and it was still available, which is unheard of now. And so for me, it was like, again, like like running was something that I enjoyed doing, and it was kind of like I started getting back into it, and I was coming up on my 40s. And so I was like, you know what? I want to get back in shape. My dad and both of his brothers, my two uncles, have all had knee surgery. And I'm like, I should probably,
I thought you were going to say my dad and my brothers and all my uncles, they're all dead.
They're all dead.
Everyone's dead.
They're all dead. They hit 41 and they immediately died. And I knew I had to start running to outrun death. Well, it was the only way. He's chasing me right now. I can't sit here too long. I have to always be moving.
That's just a specter behind me. But no, so it's like, I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to get back in shape or do my best, at least get healthier, And so I started running, and I started, I think it was like 2020. I kind of started running towards the end of it. And I think I ran like a 5K on my birthday, or no, a 10K on my birthday when I turned 39. I'm like, okay, like this is fun. I'm like, what's my next challenge? Like I want to try to do a marathon. So many people.
Okay, you didn't go into a marathon cold, because that would have been insane. So you had run a couple events locally. You had the bug again, and you of course were hosting the annual pass podcast. Yeah. Like you were in the world at this point. Well, you knew the theme park. You were deep.
Well, at that point, like we just launched annual pass actually. So like 2021 is when we launched annual pass, and so this was like annual pass was sort of I had loved theme parks my whole life, but annual pass really solidified that into like, let's talk about this stuff. And so I think we began that in like May, and then I signed up for it because it was like I started really absorbing a lot more theme park stuff again. And then I saw the Run Disney stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And then when I convinced myself, hey, try a marathon, that's when I was like, okay. And then for that year, for like that June until January, I really kicked it into overdrive, and that's why I really
you got to train.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like in that January, like by the time I made it, I was probably the best shape I've been in since I was in college, because I was running 3 times a week at minimum.
Wow.
By the end of it, I was doing 10-milers like every weekend, and got to the point where I could just straight up run a 10-miler without stopping, which was huge for me. And and then marathon weekend hit.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What when you're signing up for RunDisney, like, and there is that mad rush, I understand there are tiers when you're trying to get into it, and like you said, now it's unheard of for it to be not sold. Is there a way? Like, are there a certain tier that stays available? Are there tiers that What are the differences between RunDisney tiers?
So
like, what don't I get?
So there is a special group you can join. It's like, I think Club RunDisney. I forget the name of it. It's basically you pay like $200 a year, and you're in this club, and they get access to the registration a week before anyone else does. And outside of that,
that's what D23 promised me with my gold membership.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I got burned hard, baby.
Nice.
So I don't know if I'm going to start handing over. Well, I'm not running yet, so okay, keep talking.
I don't know if you got burned. People, as of recording, people are going to have to be getting up at 4 a.m. to do stuff.
Yeah,
so.
to pick their cues and stuff.
Don't
like
think
that.
you're burned.
Chaos.
Think you're saved.
Chaos. I think I'm gonna be okay. I'm planning to have myself handcuffed to the dinosaur fountain at Animal Kingdom during the D23 presentation. Okay, so there you join a group and you get first access, but then there are tiers. What are What are you paying for? What are you buying?
All right, so it's called Club RunDisney. That's if you want to join this. Again, you don't have to. I have not joined this. Okay. So there's a silver, gold, and platinum, of course, because there's no bronze. You can actually join right now. So it's the silver membership. The cheapest one is $289, and I guess you get it's tier 1 pricing. Okay, I don't know. It's basically like the biggest thing for that is you get early access to the RunDisney stuff, and I think you pretty much all get it at the same time, maybe.
Oh my god! Wait, yeah. So the tier thing, when I Google and I see like the silver, platinum, gold tier thing, that's just the buy-in for the club.
Hey, do you know Disney likes money?
Oh my god! I thought that was like buying into this for the. That's just the. Oh my god! No, that's incredible. Okay, keep going.
No, Disney likes money.
Silver just gets you in the door. So, silver just gets you in the door.
But yeah, silver. So silver and gold, they get you access to the registration before anyone else. So registration day is a whole can of worms.
Oh,
but I want to tell you, if I don't know if you know this, but Disney likes money. The platinum membership is $993, and that one. So the platinum one, you get access early, and also you get upgraded corral placement. So when you do races, they put you in corrals, which is kind of, they usually lump you in by how fast you think you'll finish. So sort of your premier runners, the ones who are actually like real athletes, they go in corral A. B is typically your kind of weekend warrior type people, and then like C through F are kind of maybe people who is their first marathon, or they're not really gonna, they're gonna take the full amount of time to finish the race. And so the platinum membership, you get bumped up to a fancier one, you get bumped up to a faster one. The reason why that's good is because if you're running, it's kind of fast pass, but it's also if you are running and there are something like 12,000 people who run the Disney Marathon. So if you're in the back of the pack, there's 12,000 people in front of you, and so trying to weave in and out of all these people, if you're trying to keep
if you're
pace,
actually there to run instead of just like jog and have a good time, or walk in your tutu or whatever. Which I don't even know if you could theoretically walk the marathon track. And finish in time. I think you'd have to move at a higher pace.
You have 7 hours to finish the marathon, so that breaks down to basically a 16-minute mile, or maybe is that right? I think that's right. So basically, if you're walking at a good clip, like about 4 miles an hour, you can finish the marathon. But walking at 4 miles an hour for 7 hours is not easy. So I
have on the screen here the first marathon you did. This 26.2 marathon. That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah, it's definitely it's impressive. And so the reason for me why I picked the Disney Marathon is because I know there's a lot of cool stuff to look at, and it's also gives you kind of goals. So if you look here, you start. Hey, that's me. You start at Epcot, like that's where the beginning is, and then you run from Epcot. You go through Epcot, and then you run to the Magic Kingdom, And then Magic Kingdom's around the halfway point. It's about like 10 to 11 miles. Then from there, there's a long stretch where you go from Magic Kingdom, and then you actually run by the water treatment plants at Disney, which, did you know Disney has a water treatment plant and it smells terrible?
They sure do. They sure do.
All the way
I watched Midway to Main Street, baby. I know about Reedy Creek and everything that goes on with all their unused sewage and food.
Well,
I know.
Well, it's not
Rob
Reedy Creek anymore, right? It's like FCIUD or
they've
whatever.
even changed the trash cans from what I've heard. Even the trash cans have changed.
So you run from Magic Kingdom all the way down to Animal Kingdom, and that is a long, boring stretch. And then after Animal Kingdom, so then you're about, I think, 16, 17 miles in. Yeah, 17 miles at Animal Kingdom. And then you've got this like 3-mile run, which goes to Blizzard Beach. And you're like, oh, Blizzard Beach, that'll be fun. No. So Blizzard Beach, when we run through it, you go through the asphalt parking lot and just do a giant loop through the asphalt parking lot. And that they have like, snack breaks and stuff. But then you go through that. Then you're running over to Hollywood Studios.
Well, Jack, you can't run in Blizzard Beach. There's too much ice.
Yeah, you'd slip.
Oh, it's all at that point. Your
and
shoes
also,
are melting.
everyone knows that runners' temperatures have to be maintained. If you're that hot, then you go into an Arctic temperature. That's going to really shock the body. So they just keep you in the park. That keeps you safe. Honestly,
yeah.
I got to respect that.
I'll tell you a story about that here in a minute. But then you go from Blizzard Beach over to Hollywood Studios, and so at Epcot you run through it. It's really cool, and you finish. You run through it. Magic Kingdom, you run down Main Street, USA. Animal Kingdom, you run sort of the outside path over by you come in by Kilimanjaro and then kind of run around by Yeti and then finish through the dinosaur area, Chester and Hester's. And then for Hollywood Studios, you actually literally go up through Fantasmic. You come through like a backdoor area through Fantasmic, go down the hill from Fantasmic, turn left at Tower of Terror, run down Sunset Boulevard about maybe 400 feet, and then you're taken backstage and out. That's it. That's all the Hollywood Studios you get. You get a little slice of it. And then back through Epcot, and you run through Epcot and finish the whole race. So
can we look at this map one more time?
Yeah, of course.
Because I just want to illustrate that there are times when I'm in Epcot and I'm like, oh, I'd love to go to Magic Kingdom and vibe for it. And then I open up the maps app on my phone. I just look at the sheer distance and I'm like, no, I'll just go home. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want to drive sometimes from Epcot to Magic Kingdom, and you ran from Epcot to Magic Kingdom. That makes me want to go vomit a little bit. I'm just going to be honest. I mean, that's too much.
I gotta say,
that's too much.
I mean, that is at least going from Epcot to Magic Kingdom. So a lot of people will join the marathon, and then once they make it to Magic Kingdom, kind of like bow out essentially, because we'll talk about sweepers here in a second. But that's you can pretty much make it to Magic Kingdom without doing a lot of work. I mean, it seems like a lot. It's 10 miles, which is tough, but you can get there in 2 hours, and it's cool. And also the idea, my big thing was the idea of you're running through these theme parks. That is such a cool thing.
That's
and especially
cool. Yeah, they don't let you do that normally.
No. If you see someone running in Magic Kingdom,
and there's always people there being like, slow down.
Yeah.
Slow
what are you doing?
Down.
But running through Magic Kingdom, where you literally run down Main Street USA, and they have this wall of humanity just cheering on everyone, and it's such a cool thing. You run underneath the turnstiles, or what used to be turnstiles, and Mickey and Minnie are on the top of the kind of where the railway station is, and they're cheering you on. Then you go under the bridge, and then suddenly there's just tons of people, and if it's early enough, the castle's still lit up and looks really pretty, and just people are screaming and cheering. That's such a cool
experience. How early does it start, actually? You say that. How early are you kicking off at Epcot?
So,
if you're in Group A?
Well, because this is a long marathon, and you have 7 hours to finish it.
I'm not going to like this number, am I?
Yeah, it's a running event, so you want to start early because you don't want it to get hot.
Saying the number back further, it's not good.
So Corral A kicks off. The starting of Corral A begins at 5 a.m. And so,
this has been a fun podcast. Thanks. Everyone has just left. They're just like, yeah, we don't need to run. Everyone who wasn't a runner and then got to that, they're like, I'm out. That's good. I'm fine.
Which means you have to get there at about 3:30 in the morning to.
No thanks.
Yeah.
When I have a flight at 5 a.m., I just don't sleep the night before. That's just what I do. I stay up until about 3. I get to the airport, and then I just become a human corpse on an airplane.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. What would I do? I'd have to go to bed at 2 p.m. in order to make something like that work.
That's the hardest thing about RunDisney is honestly trying to go to bed at 8, and also just being so just like nerves like rattling around. So it's like I want to sleep but I can't sleep, and then you finally fall asleep at about midnight, and then your alarm goes off at 2:30 in the morning, and you're like, oh, this sucks, and then you're gonna go run a marathon.
Yeah,
Jack,
listen, I wasn't recruited for the war or something. Like, I don't need to live like that. Like, I'm not like, it's not the bombing raids of London, like who would do that to themselves, Jack?
Well, what's interesting is I've been with Jack at the parks pre-run and post-run, and you're certainly very much like pre-run, like, sorry everybody, my mom's called me home, I gotta go sleep. Like, it's very like bleh. And then when you're done, like, especially like that period right after, when you're like, I'm too amped to sleep, so I'm just up. You're that walking corpse syndrome's a little bit there because it is like, I'm not sure when you have fun during all of this, beyond the endorphin high. Because you certainly
the bragging rights later, I think, is what is the fun.
I mean, totally,
honestly.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like I mean, honestly, like, it's your body before and after the race is. It does things to you that you never expect your body to do. And honestly, like, when I started training and I read, people talk about marathons and say, oh, it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing. Never believe that. I was like, no, it's not. It's your body. You have to get your body in shape. 100% it's a mental thing. 100% it's a mental thing.
Yeah, I bet it is. I totally bet it is. Would you argue that the 26.2 marathon is the hardest one of the, like, that's the hardest thing to do at like a RunDisney of what they offer?
So 2022, I ran my very first marathon. That's the only event I did. It was 26.2 miles, start to finish on Sunday. Marathon weekend, there are 4 races during marathon weekend. On Thursday, they do a 5K, which is open for anyone. That's the only one they don't sweep people at. So these all start at 5 a.m. But the 5K, it's 3.12 miles, and it's no time limit. There's no, like, there's not even a chip on your bib, like the little thing you wear. It's literally you just start and then you finish, and that's it's fun. People walk it. My parents in their 70s did it last year. I've done it, and I've done it a couple times since. And you see a lot of cosplayers doing the 5K. Like, we did actually a great movie ride cosplay last year. It was awesome. We had tons of us all dressed up like movie ride characters. Really, really cool. That's on Thursday. On Friday is the 10K. So that's 6.26 miles. So just over 6 miles. And so that's the first time they actually have what they call the balloon ladies. So the balloon ladies, they are the last people to cross the starting line. So after everyone is gone, the balloon ladies cross the start line, and they have literal balloons, Disney balloons, that attach to their hips. And they move at a perfect 16 mile an hour pace. Like, they've done this, they've trained for this. They run exactly at 16 miles an hour. So you have to stay in front of the balloon ladies, because if you fall behind them, if you stay behind them too long, they actually have people on bikes and like medical people that are like, hey, you got to pick up the pace. And if you don't pick up the pace, they have buses that follow behind the balloon ladies, that they'll say, okay, you had a good race, but today your race is over. So basically get on the bus. When the bus is full, they take the bus to the finish line, and they let the people out, and they still get a medal, and they still get to cross the finish line, and they get to have their experience, but you don't finish the race. So if you're like trying to actually do like, get a proper time, you don't technically finish the race, but you still get to have the experience. Obviously 10Ks, that's the shortest time they actually kind of like limit you, but that's Friday. On Saturday, they have the half marathon, which is 13.1 miles. And so that's when it starts getting serious. So that's when the balloon ladies are from that point on. You want to stay in front of them. People, like, this is where people start training pretty heavily for it, because it's a half marathon,
the balloon ladies keep that pace for each race, right? Okay.
Yeah. So you basically have 16 minutes to finish a mile, which is, a good clip, but or maybe it's 14, 12. I don't know. I'll have to look at it again. Anyway, it's a good pace. So they have, on Saturday, they do the half marathon, and then on Sunday is the full blown marathon. That's the 26.2 miles, all through all 4 parks. And yeah, same deal. Balloon ladies, stay in front of them. And when you see them, they definitely put a scare in you. And I've seen them a few times. So you asked me, what is the hardest challenge? They have 2 different challenges. One is called the Goofy Challenge, which the Goofy Challenge, you run the half marathon and the marathon back to back. So you run on Saturday, you run the half marathon. On Sunday, you run the marathon.
You'd
and
have
then
to
you
be
get a
goofy to do
special.
it. So
yeah. And so you get a goofy medal, which you can only get if you do both. And you have to finish both of them, too. If you get swept, you don't get the medal. You don't get the challenge medal. So
do you have to pay extra to do the goofy challenge, just out of curiosity?
Well, you actually, you get, if you sign up for goofy, you basically, you actually get a price break because you're not paying for individual races.
Oh, so you're paying for 2 races.
Exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
You can finish both of them. So it's a package, essentially, that if you complete, you get a perk bonus reward, but otherwise you just then are participants in the 2 events.
Yeah. So
if you can get swept and it's okay.
Yeah,
you're not gonna.
If you get
it's
swept,
not like you lost out on something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you get swept, you don't get the goofy medal. You'll still get your normal half marathon, full marathon
but you didn't
medals.
pay extra for the chance to get goofy. You actually paid less for the chance to get a goofy medal, which is cool. Thanks, Disney.
Yeah, it's great, right? So the goofy challenge, that's really, really difficult. But they also have the dopey challenge. The dopey challenge, you run all 4 races in 4 days. So you run the 5K, 10K, half, and full marathon back to back to back to back. And I did that in 2023. So I did the marathon.
How'd it go? How were your nipples at the end?
Surprisingly okay.
I know that's an odd question to ask, without the uninitiated, but nipples get real torn up for men when they're running.
Nipple chafing is a thing. Actually, I never had issues with that when I was running, when I was training. I ran a 20-miler when I was training for my first marathon. Never had problems with it. And then once I did the marathon, I don't know if it was the humidity or what, but when I finished, they were like raw. It was bad. I mean, they weren't bleeding or anything, but still it was like, ow, that hurts. Yeah. And so then from that point on, actually, you start getting like essentially Astroglide, which is like just, like Vaseline. And, that's a runner's best friend. So, putting that, but like, inserting like between your legs and
Jack
like
over
on
here
your nipples,
acting like Astroglide's Vaseline.
Vaseline. Yeah. Thanks, Jack.
Same kind of idea.
Well, this ain't Rat Castle, so you chill out, Nathan.
But yeah, so I did. It's funny because I did the marathon, which was like, the marathon for me, that was a huge accomplishment because I never thought I would ever be able to do anything like that. Like I've always been a bigger guy, and even getting in shape, I was never like fit, but finishing the marathon, the first time I did it, I ended up running the marathon in like 6 hours. Like I did a really good pace. Like I did the thing that I told myself I shouldn't do, where I got so excited. And the first time you do a race like that, especially a RunDisney race, you're just like jazzed to be there. And so I burned way too much energy early, and because it's literally a marathon, you need to pace yourself and you need to conserve energy. And I was like, I was going to do a thing where I was going to run 2 miles and then like walk a half mile and then like run 2 miles and kind of do it like that and kind of like pace myself. But I felt so good. I was just like, I was with a good pack of people, and I ran 7 miles straight, and I was like, this is easy. And then I just like tanked. And so like after about the halfway point, I ended up walking the majority of it. But as soon as I crossed the finish line, I just burst into tears. Like I was just crying. Like the woman put my medal on me, and I was like, oh, thank you. And I mean, because it was like, it's this huge, like, stress. I mean, it was like a huge accomplishment. And so even
the woman
now,
who
like,
puts medals on is brought to you by Kleenex. Yeah. She's sponsored.
And she was like, congratulations. And I was like, so thank you. But I mean, like, that's so few people do anything like that in their lives. And so like that for me was just a really, really special thing. And so, and I was,
did you dopey?
So
did you get it?
I did dopey the second year, and I completed it. So I actually did the whole thing. I did all 4 races. And the funny thing was, the second year I did it, I was in not as good of shape as I was the first year. But when I finished the marathon, when I finished dopey, I actually felt a lot better afterwards. Like, because mentally, like, my brain knows that I can get myself there now. And so
it's a mental game, right?
Yeah. And even so, and then also I was able to like pace myself more. I knew what I was doing. I was smarter about it. And when I finished, I was still, wrecked, but I wasn't like unconscious. Like I could barely get into my car after I did the first marathon. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine. Still wouldn't cool off, jumping in the pool, all that stuff. But this year, this last one, I've done it 3 times now. So I only did the dopey once. I'm only going to do it once because just to say I did it. I ran the marathon this year and the 5K this year. And 5K, we did the Great Movie Ride thing all dressed up. But then for the marathon, This year when I was training and getting up for it, I was like, I want to incorporate more weightlifting. I want to be more full body, kind of like in shape. So a buddy of mine who knew, like, he did a lot of weightlifting stuff. He wanted to get into running. And so we basically traded each other. Like, we went to the gym, or like, he's going to help me with that. I'm going to help him with running. And we really dove into weightlifting and doing like, strength training. So I was doing a lot of core stuff, a lot of squats and stuff, and went way too hard with that, way too fast, and gave myself a hernia. So in October, I had a hernia, and I had to stop doing everything to let it recede. And then by the time I finally went to the doctor, they were like, yeah, it's not showing up anymore, but you probably had one. Take it easy. And I was like, okay, that sucks. So it was like mid-November, I started working out again, worked out for about 2 weeks. And then in December, I got COVID. so had to stop working out again. So basically the last like 2 to 3 months leading up to the marathon, it was like, I couldn't do anything. I was like, well, that sucks. And so I had signed up for the marathon. I tested negative, and I was like, I just want to go and hope I can finish. I'm not expecting to. And I managed to get a really good placement with my corral. So I got ahead of the balloon ladies, because when they launch the race, it's not like everyone goes at the same time. They release like 100 to 200 people at a time, and they stagger them. That way it's not just a packed field. And so
it's the boarding pass system with, it's the virtual queue.
Yeah. So they do like Group A, and then they would split up Group A into like 15 groups, and then they would all kind of go based on like when you're in line. So I was actually like in Corral C. I was way up, and Corral F is the last one. That's where the balloon ladies are. So I had a good like essentially 45-minute buffer. So I had to finish in like almost 8 hours. And so I took it super duper slow. Like, it was the slowest I've ever gone, but I was able to actually finish the marathon even post COVID. So very
Is that
proud
where the
I pulled
balloon
that
ladies
off.
scared you a couple times?
That year, let's see, when I was finishing, so you once you get to Epcot, because like you run through the boardwalk, like from Hollywood Studios, you kind of run around towards like the Swan and Dolphin, and it's a really narrow path, but you go down the boardwalk, and then and from the boardwalk you get into Epcot, and then you kind of run through like the USA, and then around to back behind Guardians of the Galaxy, and you finish that way. So once you get inside of Epcot, you're pretty much clear. Like, they're not going to sweep you once you're there, so you're pretty good. In 2022 or 2023, when I did Dopey, I was actually running with a buddy of mine who he was having trouble getting through it, so I was kind of dragging him through. And I think we were in Mexico when the balloon ladies were like in Africa. Like, they were very close to us. That's as close as we ever got. And so and then we finished, and they finished like 5 minutes behind us. So this year I want to say I saw them at one point. I forget exactly where, but it was pretty good. I was pretty happy.
Wow.
Like, I paced myself really well, and that's where the mental thing comes into play, because I'm like, I know I can do this. My body's screaming stop, but it's like, no, shut up. I'm going to keep doing this.
Right.
And I was able to finish.
Wow, the RunDisney Dementors, the balloon ladies, chasing you all. I like that you talked about your great movie ride costume, and I want to talk about runner costumes because it's a huge, like, Disney bounding like elevates to higher levels when it comes to Run Disney events. Can you, like, what are some of your favorite costumes that you've encountered on these runs, and what is the deal with costuming? Like, are there rules? Like, how does the community react to them?
So yeah, the costuming is become a big thing, especially for like the 5 and 10K, like the easier races, quote unquote. But then you have for the longer races, like the I don't know if you're watching this, there are some like women in like some Minnie Mouse bounding type outfits. Those are more like sort of run safe, where it's like you could run in that and be okay. Whereas like there's a guy wearing a Kronk or a Death Star. It's like, you're not running a half marathon holding a box. It's like, that's not a thing. And
those are more like the 5K is what you're saying.
Yeah. So for the 5K, you see a lot of people kind of dressing up in really elaborate stuff. Like, some of the group costumes are awesome. Like, we saw a group of runners where it was like one person was Cruella de Vil, and there were like 20 Dalmatians running with her, which was really neat. Like, I love seeing that kind of stuff. They also, so every race also has a theme. So there was one recently, it was based off Pixar. So there were a ton of people running with just socks pinned to them. and they're like, oh, it's
incredible.
Yeah, and so like that's cute, you know. And you see a lot of stuff like that. You see a lot of like Marvel superheroes where it's like bodysuit type things where you can actually run in that. And there's there's a whole like there's an exhibition. There's like
I bought some for my partner, my girlfriend, a couple outfits from Crowned Athletics, a really good like princess bound. They literally exist just to service Run Disney fans who want athleisure that looks like Disney princess, like generalized. Like they have a beautiful Epcot. Like an Epcot at night, like hollow, like printed, like women's like run outfit that is gorgeous. And so when I got her a set with some Epcot ears so that she can hang out with me whenever I'm have Dreamfinder and Figment with me, so that she could be like Spaceship Earth with Dreamfinder. You know what I mean? But I love that, and I never even thought about the fact that like for the bigger ones, for the higher, like, you know, for the longer ones, you want to do like the Crowned Athletics, like athleisure, you know, the cute stuff, but that is athleisure, that's running material, it's running clothes, versus the shorter ones that are the novelty. We don't sweep people. It's easy to do. Come on down, dress up ridiculous, have a good time. I think that's, I never even like figured like that there'd be a distinction between those two events and how people dress for them, but it makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total sense.
I mean, and there are some psychopaths out there who will dress up like elaborately for the longer races. There's actually a guy who dresses like Captain Jack Sparrow, and he does the Captain Jack Sparrow run with his hands in front of him for the entire marathon. And he's in character the whole time. And I actually had a chance, like when I showed up for the marathon one day. We
gotta get him on the podcast.
Oh,
we gotta
awesome.
find him and get him on the podcast.
But there was like one time I was like walking up to the marathon, and he just happened to be next to me, and I was like, "Hey, Captain," and he's like, "Good day," and like he did his whole thing, and I was like, oh my God, I think that was more Australian than British, but
turns out it was actually Johnny Depp the whole time. He's been running the marathon every year.
There's a great TikTok or Instagram reel of him running down Main Street USA doing his thing, and someone had a little shot bottle of Captain Morgan, and they're like, Jack, and he runs past, and then he like looks at him and goes past, and then he comes back and grabs him. He's like, thank you, and then he bolts off. It's awesome. But that dude is dedicated. There's these guys that they're super just like buff dudes. It's like these two guys, they're always, and like it's one of the only times you can have your shirt off at Disney and not get in trouble for it. So they're of course shirt off, hugely ripped, and they wear these green tutus, and so they do it every year. So like people recognize those guys, and there's two like guys. There's a group of people that go to every single one, and there's actually something called Disney Perfect, which is the people that have run in every single race at Marathon Weekend since the beginning of it. And so they literally have special bibs that say perfect on them. And so I think there's like something like 60 or 80 people that have done that, which sounds like a lot. But I mean, literally 12,000 people run this event every year, like more than that. It's crazy how many people do this stuff. And the fact there's like that. And
also they could have bought a home for the amount of money they invested in running at Disney World. I'm just saying.
Jack, I am curious, like the Boston Marathon and other marathons, you pay for those too, right? Or is Disney this unique? Yeah. So like, that's just part of it, is this concept of unless they're
but
you have to pay for a club to sign up to be able to run.
You don't. I mean, you don't have to pay
Marathon?
for that. It's just, so the Club Run Disney stuff. You don't have to pay for that. It's just like a guarantee that you're going to get in.
Sure.
Usually for us, like, so we have the Rope Drop Run Club, which is spawned off of Annual Pass, and we have like probably 100 members in that group. And so like for Marathon Weekend, we're all in Discord together, just talking to each other. And what happens is that like it's like 9 a.m. for me is when it kicks off. I want to say it's like 10 a.m. East Coast, is they open up a queue, and literally you jump into the queue. And so all of us are in there like, who's got one? And so I'll have windows open on multiple computers on my phone until I find a good one, like any sort of Disney thing you sign up for. And as soon as you register, it's like, I'm done, I'm out, and you close all your windows and you let everyone know. And so it's fun watching everyone like, I got it. And so, and seeing people, and it's like, who all's doing what? And so it's really neat. But it's, I feel like this year was a lot easier for people to get in. I think there was this sort of rubber banding effect where once COVID hit, and then everyone pushed like, their holidays and their vacation plans. And so in 2022, 2023, it was just packed. Everyone wanted to do it. It was like, I haven't done this in so long, I want to do it. So it was very difficult to get in, but now we're seeing it starting to kind of like taper back off again, kind of to normal sanity levels. And so like this year was a little bit easier to get people in the thing.
Which every critic of Disney has internalized as like Disney's failing. And it's like, no, guys, Disney's just back to milking their DVC, the people they've, permanently sealed into vacationing here and that are printing them a small mint. It's like, no, Disney's fine, guys. Just not everyone's like clamoring to go like they were for 3 years. Because it was insane. It was insane. And speaking of going to the parks, what is the culture of we just ran a marathon, half marathon, whatever. Let's go spend 8 hours at Disney parks. Like on marathon weekends, I feel like the parks, and of course, because as we mentioned, that's the fun part is having your thing, wearing your medal, having everyone be like, congratulations. You know what I mean? It's like when the troops came home after World War II. You know what I mean? Like they're throwing ticker tapes from Main Street.
Yes.
It's exactly like that, exactly. You go, you walk around, they give you extra popcorn, whatever, you know what I mean? Cast members to take care of you,
Yeah.
What's the culture? Like, do you go and then watch the fire? Like, what do you do? Or are you like a zombie?
Yeah, so after I do the marathon, typically for me, it's like you get your softest shoes. They actually make like running shoes that once you're done running, you wear. It's basically like super foam shoes to try to like help your legs and stuff, and those are great.
It's just Tom's with Jello in it. That's all it is.
Yeah, pretty much. What I do is I make a reservation for Epcot because you finish at Epcot. That's where the finish line is every time. So I make a reservation for Makes Epcot sense. That day because by the time you finish, it's around noon to 1 o'clock, and so I'll go with my medal and then go into Epcot and like stumble in front of the ball and then take photos because the PhotoPass people are great. They usually they have like the best ones out because people are taking medal photos and like they have you like line up in certain ways. They know how to do it really, really well. And so I'll have my like sweaty, gross, just finished a marathon medal photo. And then I usually go back to my Airbnb or hotel or whatever. I take a shower. I take a shower and hit the pool and just let my legs just like breathe for, 30 minutes to an hour, or I get in a tub and just like soak them with cold water just to try to cool them off.
It's like after you cook a steak, you got to let it rest.
Yeah, exactly. Got to this tenderize. Now it's time to cool it off. And then I we usually like the Rope Drop Run Club. We usually try to meet up somewhere and take a big group photo, which is fun. But yeah, it's a lot of people just like slowly moving. It's like the slowest you'll ever see anyone go. It's like we're at Disney Springs, and it's just like, oh hey guys, and everyone's and then take your photo. Like, all right, I'm gonna stumble over the Lego store.
Do you plan like a Disney trip so that the running is at the end, or do you want the running to be at the beginning? Like, what's the recovery of it? So, like after you do it,
when I do it, I try. So the marathon's always Sunday, so I try to give myself at least an extra day. So if ideally we leave like on Tuesday, but I mean sometimes we leave on Monday. Some people are psychopaths and they leave like Sunday night, and it's like I couldn't do that. I don't want to get on a plane with my legs like that. But I try to we set it up where we get there like Tuesday or Wednesday before the actual events start kicking off. And not only that, but the 5K, if you're doing the 5K on Wednesday, they open up an exhibition hall. So it's like a RunDisney, kind of convention center type thing where they have vendors come out with different merchandise. So you can buy headphones or shoes or like,
oh yeah, the Crowd Athletic girls go there all the time.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
That opens on Wednesday and you have to go.
It's like a Run D23 Expo.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you have to go pick up your bib, which is like your number. You have to pick up, you get a bag, like a RunDisney bag that you can put stuff in, and then on the morning when you run, they actually have trucks where you can go like check your bag. So if like you don't want to carry, if you have a bunch of stuff with you walking up to the race thing, you can throw it all in there. If you have like I put my soft shoes in there, so when I'm done running, I can then get my bag back, take those out, and have that stuff. I have a massage gun that I bring with me to work my legs, and so like that kind of stuff. So you get that there. You get your official RunDisney shirt. So when you register, you do get like a athletic shirt you can wear. But the problem is for marathon weekend, they always give you long sleeve shirts because it's January, but I only run when it's hot. So like it's, I don't want a long sleeve shirt, but anyway, that's open.
You got to cut them off. You got to show them guns, Jack.
That's... Yeah, just.
Well, not all runners are created equal, and I'm sure those long sleeve shirts are for those beanpole runners that are like, I don't have an ounce of body fat. I always wear long sleeve shirts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not me, not Furnace Dan over here. So you know what I mean? But no long sleeve shirts for me.
So that opens up on Wednesday, and the first race is on Thursday. So if you're doing the 5K, you have to go on Wednesday to pick up all your stuff for the 5K. They do have sort of in case of emergency, you can get your stuff at the race day, but it's so much easier to have it and you're settled and you don't have to worry about it. So you want to get there at least Wednesday if you're doing the 5K, but that's open through Sunday. Like that event is open, that convention's open through Sunday. So you can always go back. Like I usually go and pick up they have race gummies, which that's one thing I didn't know about until I started running long distance is you have to eat while you run, because if you think of your body has like a gas tank. After 10
you need to
miles,
fuel it, baby.
Well, yeah, I mean, after 10 miles, it's like, oh, I'm hungry. And the problem is, if you realize you're hungry, you've already lost, because you have to stay in front of being hungry. Because if you get hungry, there's no catching up. And so for me, it's every 2 hours, I down some of these gummy things just to give my body a little bit more energy. And they've got bananas, and they've got a couple other things throughout the run. There's water stops about every 1.5 miles, 2 miles throughout the whole race.
Actually, can we look at the map one more time, Nathan? Because if you look at the map and if you pay close attention, there's little blue W's all over the trail, which symbolize the water spots. But I'm curious because there's also all these little circles, these white circles with numbers. And as something I really want to talk about with Run Disney, the character, all these specialized character moments that they have on the trail. Yeah. So it's cool they give you water and food. There's F symbols, I think, for food, the plus for medical, but there's lots of water stops, but there are also lots of character stops and character spots. What is that like? What is the energy of being running Disney and meeting sometimes characters no one has ever seen before, like Four Town or Ethan Clade from
Well, people would love
Worlds.
To see Four Town. What we're talking about here is a character like Ethan Clade who will never be shown ever again.
Yeah. It's all right, we made the costume, we forgot about it. We're going to use it once just so we can say we did it, and then it's going to be a tax write-off because that's Disney's new favorite thing to do. And so, what are the character experiences like? Because it's not just Mickey and Minnie are great at the train station, cheering you on, but they set up photo spots with backgrounds and props and stuff. They really go all out.
Yeah, it's actually really, really cool. So for when they run the races, they typically try to theme it around whatever the theme of the race is. So if they do a Pixar one, you get a lot more Pixar characters. They have princess weekends, which is they have all the princesses out. But they'll, like you said, they'll throw out characters that you'll never see. I can almost guarantee you're going to see Darkwing Duck every year you run the Disney Marathon. He's always out.
Let's get dangerous.
But even I remember it was 2 years ago, I think, when we were going into Epcot, they had a face actor doing Tarzan, which he was shirtless and he was just a ripped dude, and it was just oh my God, that I've never seen
Disney
that.
keeps two of them on staff all the time, dude. Those ripped Tarzan. I'm serious. I did a whole video about male nipples at Disney parks with characters, and Tarzan is one of the few male nipples that you see. And they had a Chewbacca bandolier kind of thing with vines that they put on him eventually to kind of reduce the nipplage, but it didn't work. He's still out and buff and strong. So it's amazing that of course Tarzan is at the Run Disney.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course. There's got the two buff dudes with tutus, you know what I mean? Disney can't be they put him out just for those two guys.
Yeah, it's funny seeing him. I was oh my gosh, and they have the character stops about every mile or so you end up having a whole bunch. And even on so for the Rope Drop Run Club, we have some guys that are pretty fast, and they're in Discord saying who's in line, so you can kind of know who's coming up, because
that's cool,
because you have to wait in line. The way they do it is you have your bib, which has a number on it, and so your name is associated with that number, and your photo pass is associated with that number. So you go get in line, and they just have Disney photographers. You snap your photo, and then you just go off. And then they have I'm sure an OCR reader or something that just reads the numbers, and just any time they see your number, they just add it to your thing.
I like that, actually. I dig.
It's pretty cool.
It's not chip. It's not because of the chip. You think they're not doing that?
No.
Okay, I didn't realize that those bibs had chips. Of course, because I'm not a runner, but I didn't realize that they put security tags in the bibs to keep track of where you guys all are.
Chips in them. So
no, none of the bibs.
You just have lobsters on them.
They have chips on them.
It's great too, because you get tagged in other people's photos, if you're in the background of a photo. So I've got one photo that I never will publicly post, but I'll send it to you guys. It's this. It's the cover of the Run Disney. This is a magical moment, because they have photographers, especially in the parks. They have photographers everywhere because they want to get those great photos of the castle behind you, or you running down Main Street USA. And so they have these green tents and green vests. And if you see them, it's they're just snapping photos like crazy, and then they upload them to the cloud and they'll tag you on it or whatever. But there's this one photo. It's this woman who's perfect pose, smiling, the castle's behind her, and then me just behind her being a weirdo. It's just I just ruined her photo. And so but it's
yeah, she's on that free Photoshop Reddit subreddit being can someone please take 100%. Out this lunatic?
Well, God bless you, AI. Don't wear Jack Pattillo in my photos.
Yeah, it's like, this is key art. This will be great. We'll put it on our site. Who is? Oh, and just. I'll send it to you guys after this, but yeah, so there's photographers everywhere, and like that's such a cool thing too, and getting some great photos. I'm always because I do the ride photo stuff where I try to make goofy faces on it. It's the same deal when I'm running and I see the photographers up ahead. I'm like, what am I gonna do? And one of my favorite ones was me. I think it was it was either on the boardwalk or it was in Hollywood Studios. But I took my phone out and I did like one of these things where I was like, sorry, I'm busy, and so that looked great. And and then you see the people who like jump and click their heels, and I tried that once and I injured myself.
Broke both my legs.
I literally rolled my ankle landing. I was like, oh, that was the stupidest thing ever. 10 miles into a marathon and I rolled my ankle.
I forgot I'm 41. I gotta knock that shit off.
My entire family died at 41. I can't do this.
Yeah, my dad and my uncles both died from jumping and clicking their heels in a marathon, and here I am testing fate, doing it again.
So it's great though. But the character stops are awesome. Like I think Powerline Mac showed up for the first time like during a Disney race, like before he started popping up in the parks. So it was like Powerline, Goofy, and Max. They were both out for a while. One of my favorite spots is as you're running towards Animal Kingdom. They actually have like a transportation warehouse, and they bring out some old vehicles. Cool. So they have like one of the old Nautilus ships from 20,000 Leagues they bring out, and it's like you can just like see that, and they've got like some of the old, I think they have some of the old buggies and some of the old Main Street vehicles, and it's like, oh, that's so cool. And seeing that kind of stuff.
It almost would make sense that they could break the internet if they did a backlot tour themed Run Disney weekend.
My gosh.
You know what I mean? And they did the vintage red, yellow, and black check.
Oh, run through the
security stripes.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? But could you imagine just like leaning in hard to like, oh yeah, remember that whole theme of us just pulling out old vehicles and weird stuff, and like not even character meets, but every mile there's like a new pile of just old shit that you haven't seen in a while. You can get a picture with. I would sign up for that one, no doubt. No doubt.
Some of my favorite stuff is you get a run behind the scenes a lot of times. So like when you run through Magic Kingdom, you finish by running behind Thunder Mountain. So like when at D23, like what's behind Big Thunder Mountain? And I know, I've seen it.
What is behind Big Thunder Mountain? That's something I've been thinking about for 2 years. I can't let it
it's
go.
It's weird that they would say something like that.
Turns out it's just a bunch of runners.
Yeah, it's runners, and they have.
Here we thought it was Colombia, Mexico, and Disney villains. A weird trio. If we're sending messages, I'm just throwing out there. And but no, it turns out it's just Jack Pattillo with his chafed nipples, dressed like he works at the Hollywood Tower of Terror.
Well, it's neat because like you get to see that stuff, and it's like I mean I'm a big nerd, and I did the college program back in the day, so I love going behind the scenes. Like that's great, and so like
oh my god, did you really?
I did college program 2002 and 5.
We are going to have you back on the podcast then to talk about the college program. I actually want to find everyone who's been in the college program that I know because I want to continue to interview.
GMR 2002, baby. I was
that was where we worked.
Yeah, that was I did great movie ride, and I did backlot tour. So I did both my attractions are gone now, but they're legacy. So, but like running backstage behind Magic Kingdom's great, and also at Epcot you actually run behind Future World on the east side. East side. So it's like behind like living with the land
by the greenhouses and stuff.
Yeah. So you can see that stuff, which is kind of cool on the other side of it, and you come out over by Imagination, and so that was always neat. And like I just love that, and running through Animal Kingdom through the backstage area. Actually, as you're going through Animal Kingdom, they usually have this year they had a turtle out, so you could go take a photo with a turtle, and then they also have a donkey named Jack, and I've taken photos with Jack 2 years now, and I'm like, where's Jack? And he's coming, and so I had to come back, and they had him out.
Where's that?
Because you make a circle, so it was like as I went in, they didn't have him out, but when I came back, he was out, so I went and ran and took a photo with him. So anyway, I love it.
I thought you were going to say that they let you actually run through the Kilimanjaro Safari.
Oh my gosh.
They're just like, and we got to dodge giraffes, but those guys in the trucks are still out there haranguing them. It's not like we have to worry about it. But if an antelope gets in the road, we all have to stop and wait for it. So, I mean, it's same rules.
Just runners all over, just strewn about with the gazelles and whatnot.
That's actually funny. It's a question I had later on the agenda, but let me just ask you now: if you could plan a Run Disney track that took you into each park and you could run through one ride at each park, what would be a good ride to run through?
Oh man, it's tough because I want to say something like like Space Mountain would be cool to see, like at least with the lights on, but that's all above you.
Could you imagine running through that queue though, like running up and down those things to get into it like that? You have to consider that's part of it.
True.
You have to enter the building
down slope
to also get out of the building.
I mean, it'd be fun if you could run the People Mover track. Like that would be kind of neat.
The People Mover track would be cool for you to be able to run. And I feel like that's actually something they could reasonably, especially at Disneyland, if they took some time to secure it, OSHA, it would be cool to run up there. I think that'd be amazing to do. I honestly think it would be cool to run through Rise of the Resistance with because literally the ride and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Also, if you put the vehicles off the track, the tracks are they're just warehouse buildings. They're huge hallways essentially with theming.
Well, I was going to say great movie ride
would
have been great, but then again, Jack, I'm sure
would have
you've
been
sort
incredible.
of at least walked through all the great movie ride.
Oh yeah, I've done movie ride back to front like that one. I know that one in my sleep. It's weird now, seeing elements of movie ride that they kind of left, like the first archway when you go through 100%. That's the old archway you turn in, and I'm like, oh, that's where the break room is back there. And one cool thing is so this skewing off, weird tangent, but when you check out at Disney, so when you go through training and a manager signs off on you, usually for if you're doing Fantasmic, it's okay, 30 minutes of hey, stand there, yell at people, whatever, you're done. For movie ride, you had a week of training, so it's you literally have a 60-page script you had to memorize, at least when I did it, and you have to know how to speed up, when to slow down and whatnot. But when you checked out, when the manager said okay, you're good to go, they had a wall backstage that was full of handprints, and so you would paint your hand and put your handprint on the wall and sign it on your day you checked out. And so my handprint theoretically might still be there, because I don't think they tore out that area, as from what I understand.
Well, no, they tore down the walls, but the handprints stayed.
Oh, okay.
It's like one of those spooky things, like at prisons. You know how there's always that story.
So
maybe that's just, there's a lot of old penitentiaries in Pennsylvania, and that story persists, like a handprint on the wall. We tore down the wall and built a new wall, and the handprint stayed.
You didn't move the bodies. So if anyone works at Mickey and Minnie's, let me know if the handprints are still there. So, and that was a fun mini story. Tom Hanks got a backstage tour through GMR one time, and he saw the signatures, and he just thought it was famous people going through, so he signed the wall. And so there was all these handprints, and then Tom Hanks' signature.
Tom Hanks,
it's
narcissist.
Okay, sure, why not? So, and then people got their handprints all around Tom Hanks'
Theoretically, he could have just stood on the ride, and it would have been fine. No one would have questioned it.
Yeah, he could have dressed.
Was Tom Hanks on the ride? He was. There was no robot Tom Hanks.
I'm trying to. I don't think he was in the finale either. He was. There was a clip of Big. There was a clip of Big in the finale.
Yeah. Oh, a clip of Big.
Yeah. So.
If you ask me, a Forrest Gump and if a new great movie ride would easily have a Forrest Gump on a bench. You know
Forrest
what I mean?
Gump may have made the finale because they did. There was 7 or 8 variants of it.
Yeah. Because they had all kinds of integrations with TCM or whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, that's not Run Disney.
But no, we're asking about what rides would be fun to run on.
Man,
Haunted Mansion would be fun to run, except that all of the Doom buggies are elevated 13 feet. You don't realize. So
you'd also go.
I don't really think that would be safe to run.
You go tumbling out of the attic after the bride. It's just a giant slope.
But when they have Rivers of America drain because they're working on something, let us run let me run through drain Fantasmic's Lagoon and let me run through that or something. Give me something interesting, something when we're working on something, why not? Give me the opportunity. Let me run through the Halcyon. You know what I mean? Just open up the doors from one side to the other, and hey, at least we're using the space. You know what I mean? that is one thing. This year when I was doing the marathon, I was pretty beat, because I was not in the best shape to run the marathon, and I remember leaving Animal Kingdom and seeing forever away the Tower of Terror, and I'm like, that's my next stop. It's just literally it's 8 miles away, and it's all right, that's where I'm going, and it's you just see how far away it is. And it's okay, and sure enough, it is a slow work your way around to it, and then you literally get into Hollywood Studios at Tower of Terror, and it's just that's a bit heartbreaking because there's not many icons you can see that far away, but the Tower of Terror you can see from literally miles away, and so that was tough. Yeah, that's amazing. When you're at I have an existential question here, a theoretical question. What Disney character do you think would make the most impressive distance runner?
Ooh.
If there was a character that was out there, who do you think? And don't give me Judy Hopps or anything stupid. Give me something interesting here. You can't say
Dan,
small mouse,
the
Looney Tune mouse.
The
I can't
answer
remember
is
his name.
obvious. It's Hercules because he can go the distance.
Oh, because he can go the distance. Jesus.
Oh yeah, you hear that song about 15 times.
And he sips.
Yeah.
And he sips his juice.
Yeah, and that is one thing too.
He sips
So
his gin and
they've
juice.
got speakers that are like just pumping music through like the entire course, and yeah, you hear "Go the Distance" about 1 billion times. Oh man, that's tough. Like, let's see. I mean, yeah, one of the like
the obvious answer to me is Goofy, because I have seen his athletic training videos, and I know that this man, he would stumble across the starting line, and then he would just trip his way to the finish line and be first. I don't know. No one would know how it happened, but the man of pure chaos, you know what I mean? He would just like get picked up by one of those mosquito chickens they've got roaming around, and he'd carry it like it'd just be chaos. But Goofy would do it
his way all the way.
Yeah. He would garsh his way across the finish line. But my gosh, it'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
Talk about Jack ruining the photos of people in the background as they're running through. Goofy would destroy people's photos. It'd be
and he'd be dressed for alpine skiing for some reason, you know, just like
Absolutely. Yeah, he showed up to ski and he ended up running. Yeah, that's definitely a Goofy move.
I mean, I want to say like Simba or someone would crush a marathon. Like one of the cats would probably do it.
He does a long run in the movie.
That's the same. Oh my God. He does. Especially the live action remake where they're like, all right, we got to put a Beyonce song in here somewhere. I guess it's got to be during remake? Simba running.
Yeah. Live action.
Maybe the wildebeest, because that'll stomp over anyone. You know, those go. You know, like so.
I get out of his way.
Again, you guys keep bringing up four-legged animals. I clearly made the Judy Hopps rule that said, "Don't give me fast animals as the answer."
To be fair, Judy Hopps has 4 legs.
Ridiculous answer.
It's anthropomorphized.
Yeah, she does. Bunnies do in general. I rarely see a bunny wandering around my backyard wearing a police uniform on its hind legs, walking around with a carrot pen.
You live in the wrong places.
They're all over the place in Texas.
You know, that's
all carrots are bastards.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like any of the princesses, I think would be great. I think like Mulan would crush it.
Pocahontas,
Pocahontas would be great.
Pocahontas would smash. It's Pocahontas or none. In terms of Merida needs a horse to run. She's worthless. You know what I mean? Rapunzel, she's been living in a small confined space. She has no conditioning. Mulan's got so much armor, and she's also got a horse. You know what I mean? Like, you know who doesn't have a horse? Pocahontas. She has a raccoon, a hummingbird, and a grandma tree. You know what I mean?
And the wind.
This woman can run, all right? And the wind. Yeah, she's got the wind.
Elsa would stay.
The wind makes an early cameo from Frozen 2 in the Pocahontas movie. It's crazy they brought it back from Frozen 2.
Like Elsa would keep herself cool, so she'd never really get too hot, you know? She doesn't really run, though.
But there's a whole scene of Elsa trying to, like, run into a frozen ocean, and she can't get more than 100 feet. It takes her a while. All right? She's not athletic. All right? Elsa's not the answer either. It's not. You know, and Snow White, Cinderella can't even handle stairs, let alone a marathon. Like, you know, like all the princesses continue to fall apart. You know what I mean? Tiana as a frog, maybe, but not normal Tiana. She's weighed down by all the beignets in her gut. So, she's not eating healthy. So, it's, like I said, it's Pocahontas.
Maybe Robin Hood. Like he's agile.
Fox Robin Hood?
Yeah, Fox Robin Hood.
I said no four-legged animals.
You said Judy Hopps. I was going off that. Robin Hood doesn't ever crawl around like on the ground.
Dan, when you say no like, animals and you're
you
asking for Disney characters, you're making things very thin.
Yeah. I'm making things really hard. I know. This is my fault.
It's RC Car or Lightning McQueen. There we go. They could do it.
There you go. Yeah, Lightning McQueen.
There you go. Lightning McQueen is incredible. Slinky Dog. I have a question. Does Universal do anything like this?
So Universal did a 5 and 10K in 2019, or maybe it was 2020. Like, I think it was maybe like February or March of 2020. They did one right before COVID and then have not done one since. I actually have a friend, shout out to my friend Kimmy. She ran the minute, I think it was, I don't know, it was Men in Black 5K or what it was called. It was just maybe or Universal 5K. But they had like, there were people cosplaying and there were Men in Black running around.
Now there's a ride
same sort of deal.
I would run
that's
through.
cool.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that actually would handle it too. Running down the gullet of a huge monster.
But unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but Universal just doesn't have the footprint Disney does, so you can't do those really massive races.
Not yet.
But now with Epic opening up, Epic is like 3-4 miles away. So I mean, you could at least do a half marathon if you're running sort of through City Walk, through the parks, and then down to Epic.
Universal with the infrastructure for using public roads and stuff. But I mean, that's what marathons are though in a lot of ways. So it's sure it could be done with Volcano Bay. And the real question, and when they started, they got to call it Runiversal, right? I mean, it's like, right? It's there. It's just right there. Runiversal. Genius. What would you call it?
I don't know. Run Universal? Like it's something simple.
Yeah. Just squish it. Runiversal. Genius. All right, I'll take my check anytime Universal wants to print it. That's incredible.
But no, I mean, I would love to see it. I mean, like, there's, Disney does, they've been doing it in Florida for a while, but they just brought it back to California. So California, they don't do a marathon in California, but they're doing a half marathon. And I want to say they do it around Halloween out in California. So that's kind of cool. And there is...
Yeah, that one picture of all the runners, the one was Death Star, and the background was Halloween Cars Land. Cool. So yeah, it's a Halloween
and so they
thing.
They actually do a couple races in Hollywood or in Anaheim as well. And they have one that's like a week after the one in Orlando. And so they have marathon weekend in Orlando, then they do a race in Anaheim. And you can, if you do both of them, you get a special coast to coast medal.
Whoa.
So yeah, if you complete both races within like the 2 weeks or whatever, you get a coast to coast medal. And they used to have a medal that if you did marathon weekend and then did the Castaway 5K, because on the Disney Cruise Line on one of their islands, they actually have a 5K course where you can go kind of run that at your own leisure. But if you do it and show that you've done the marathon, they'll give you another special unique medal. So that one's tougher to get.
That medal is called the White Privilege Medal, where you have been on a cruise at Disneyland and Disney World all within the span of several weeks. It's called the White
too much money medal.
So,
Jack, would you? I mean, for me, I'm still not convinced that I would do any of this. But if you were to say Tokyo Disney is going to do a Run Disney, boy howdy, going through Disney Sea, that would be incredible.
Yeah. I have never been to the Japanese parks or the Shanghai parks or anything like that. And so like going over there, having multiple reasons to get over there would be huge. But I mean, just the cost of it would be crazy. And I am curious about like running culture over there, if that's a thing that anyone cares about. But yeah, I mean, it would be a lot of fun. And like, they really do pull out the stops and they make it interesting. I mean, it costs a lot of money to run these races, but the amount of, exclusivity and the cool characters and the way they take care of you and like the sort of the pre-show, the post-show they do for you. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it is a Disney premium you're going to be doing, but how many people get to say?
But it has that Disney polish.
Yeah.
It's no doubt that it has the Disney polish versus other marathons, and that's honestly what you're getting. It's this same thing with DVC. It's the same thing with their theme parks and their dining, and they put that extra polish on. It's a brand of convenience, and so to pack in a lot of experiences on top of like your hobby of running, it's genius. I mean, it's what they do with eating. You know what I mean? Like we all have a hobby of eating, and they've completely outfitted that in every financial way possible. So the fact that they're leaning in hard to running, it's awesome. I think it's cool that for that community, this option.
And one other thing, so if you are thinking about doing Run Disney, if you've never done a marathon before, you've never done a half marathon before, if you're thinking about doing it, I'll give you one piece of positivity about the Run Disney Marathon. There's a couple things about it. I mean, you'll never have a more positive experience with other people because everyone is so happy and so like wants to help others. Like it's like the nicest thing ever. So everyone is so friendly there, including the runners. Everyone is just like jazzed to see you there, which is really cool. And you get that at other races too, but I think like for some reason they just care more here. And another thing for the actual physical portion of it, Run Disney is very flat. There are not a lot of hills at Disney. So, I mean, that's one issue. Like, I've run in Austin a couple times for a couple events, and there are just giant hills you have to go up and down. Disney World in general is very, very flat. The only time you ever encounter any sort of hills is on overpasses. So if you're running on some overpasses, but they're really, nicely sloped hills, and the sharpest incline and decline in the entire race is when you're running towards Magic Kingdom in front of the Contemporary. There is a dip underneath the lake, and so they actually have like a water thing that goes over
the
you.
Flood dip.
Yeah, and so you go underneath that and then back up that, and that is the sharpest down and up in the entire park, and the entire race. And so, I mean, if you're
or you can jump over it.
Just swim through it, yeah. But yeah, I mean, but other than that, I mean, honestly, like it is a very, very nice. It's a good course. Like if you're concerned about like, oh, is this going to be a tough course? It's actually a legit, very, very good course to run because there's not a lot of incredible inclines or declines. So it's nice to have that consistency, and it's all paved. Like you're never running on dirt. You'd run on wood if you're on the boardwalk, but really, other than that, it's like all paved, all concrete, and it's nice and it's clean. It's fun.
Yeah, the promise of a level, non-inclined running space is actually a huge selling point for this versus like most other places. You know, Boston or New York, wherever we're living in. You know, like all these crazy places with all these, you know, with the Appalachia or whatnot. You know, but Florida is just flat, and Disney also built 10 feet above the flatness of it to begin with to make it super flat.
Jack,
you know, so it's a really great place to run.
Any of the smaller resort based running like areas? I know like Wilderness Lodge has one, and just for fun.
I've done I did a charity event, and the event was held at Coronado Springs, and Coronado's got this giant lake, and there's like a 1.5 mile course around that, and I was training. So yeah, I ran that, and it was pretty nice. But I mean, as far as like, you know, I like people, like they'll talk about when they're training at Disney, like, can you make the loop around the lagoon at Magic Kingdom, like the Seven Seas Lagoon, is that what it's called? But I don't think you can. I don't think you can get from the TTC to Contemporary. Like there's no footpath to it. So you can
well, right now there is a right now because of the Polynesian construction, you can't do it at all. They shut down the walking path, but you can start at the Contemporary and get your way to the TTC. You have to, but you know what I mean. But you have to go through security once at that point. But you can do like literally 7. You're missing like one slice of pizza from the whole pie, but you can do almost all of it. It's like it would be incredible if they had some kind of finished walking path that connects the TTC to the Contemporary. That would be an amazing thing. I would walk to Magic Kingdom if they had that from to TTC. Honest to God, I hate the monorail. I hate that boat. I hate going to the Magic Kingdom. If I had a nickel for every steak and eggs I've eaten at Contemporary Steakhouse 71, just so I can park and then walk over to the parks, because I hate getting to the Magic Kingdom. It's the most aggressively stupid thing that Disney has ever done.
$1,000 and join Swim Disney, which you just swim right across.
No, Rob in a lost episode had a long discussion about how we wouldn't allow our bare butts to touch the lagoon outside of Magic Kingdom, to even to lazy. I asked if he would lazy river in it, and he said absolutely not. So
we'll
I mean, like, I don't think we'll ever see a Run Disney triathlon where you're swimming through the lagoon, biking.
For what it's worth, they used to have bikes at Disney MGM Studios. Back when I worked there in 2002, they had bikes backstage because when I worked at the Backlot tour, the team member or the cast member cafeteria was over by Sunset, and so to get there, you had to get on a bike and then bike over to Sunset, go to the cafeteria, get your chicken strips and fries, and then bike back.
In theory, you could turn off the lazy river at one of the water parks and have people swim the lazy river.
That's true.
Not bad. Not
Little
bad.
Small.
I like it. But you have to swim against the current. You have to swim backwards.
That would be
That's
insane.
The thing. Oh, I thought by turn it off you meant just take the tubes out.
That's not what turning off means. Do you think the lazy river naturally flows? Is that where you're at?
No, but I think the lazy river flows due to the filtration and pumps of the system. It's not like they have like currents added. It's just like, oh no, here's the intake and outtake, and it just pushes the water one direction.
No, you leave the tubes in. That way people have to knock through them.
But you can't just turn the pool off. Like, you can't just turn your pool off, I don't think. You got to
keep it. Do I need to separate you two? Are you all right? You going to start fighting?
Look, I'm interested in lazy rivering every body of water at Disney parks, and so I've thought long and hard about it. But I guess you're right. I thought turning off a lazy river, I think, to me means taking the tubes out. So it's still a pool without the lazy river. You know what I mean? Without the things. Well, that's thank you, Jack, for trying to convince me to get.
I mean, honestly,
Disney,
like if you're ever even thinking about it, I mean, I'm assuming you have annual passes. So like the cool thing is going down there, making an excuse to get down to Florida for a week is always great. And for what it's worth, they also do plunk these races down usually during slow periods. So like, you know, that first week, or it's usually the first weekend of January or second weekend of January. So it's actually, the parks aren't that bad. It's mostly full of Disney runners.
Yeah,
which I will say,
AP locals, we hated you people. You'd fill our parks.
I will say, if you ever want to see probably the most attractive people ever at Disney, go during a race week, because these are people who are all fit and who are all in shape, and it's like, wow, this is not your typical spring break crowd.
Right. And if you have terrible body dysmorphia and you hate yourself, don't go during a Run Disney. Actually, I like the vibe of the crowd. I know that Nathan says he hates them, but like I've been long considering doing some live events, like having some like live shows in Florida, and every single time I start to think about when I know that when I have them, it will be planned on a marathon weekend, because I just know that for whatever reason, the weird bearded idiots that like me also run a lot. You know what I mean? There's just a big overlap. I don't get it. Looking at me, I don't understand. But maybe they look at me and they're like, oh, thank God I'm not that heavy. And that's the appeal. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a big crossover. So the parks really do fill out. Well, during that Run Disney weekend. They're not lulls in the park. I like how you're like, oh, and by the way, they plan these events when the parks are empty by filling the parks. Oh, great. That doesn't sell it at all, Jack.
To be fair, like throwing like 15,000 people at 4 Disney parks isn't going to fill it a whole lot. I mean, it's a decent amount of people, but that is one thing I'll bring up before we kind of get away from this. So if you're ever thinking about doing this kind of stuff, if you're ever thinking like, oh, I can't do it, running's not for me, or like you like, oh, I'm going to be embarrassed if I go out there, I'm going to not do it right, and people are going to think I'm stupid. That is the furthest thing from the truth. I will tell you, anytime I've gone to the gym, or I've gone running around the lake, or I've done Run Disney stuff, anytime I see someone who maybe it's their first time, or maybe they're struggling, I think, oh my God, I'm so proud of that person. I'm so happy for that person to see what they're getting out there and they're doing it. Like, they're actually trying. And so, like, even when I started working out at the gym and I was having trouble, like, people come up like, hey, do you need any help? Like, do you need any tips or anything? And it's like, oh yeah. And you think like gym bros, and you do get those, gym rats who are kind of like just buttholes who you just don't want to deal with. But for the most part, 95% of the people you see when you're working out, if you're running around a lake or like a trail or anything, they're people who support each other, and they love each other, and they want everyone to be their best self. And that is one of the coolest, most like one of the nicest things that you experience when you're doing these things. And at Run Disney, it's tenfold that, because everyone is so proud of everyone, and everyone's supporting everyone. And like, you see people struggling, and people are like, hey, you got this, you can do this, I believe in you. And it's like people will like slow down and pace with people. It's such a cool thing. And if you've never done it, just if you want to, sign up for a 5K, because the 5Ks you can literally walk the whole thing.
You know what, Jack? I'm gonna look at if 5K is even available. But like, will you do the next one in January?
I will. So I'm already signed up for the one in January. So registration happens like 8 months before the events. So I'm not doing. So Marathon Weekend is already booked up right now. It's already sold out. It does pop open. There are some Twitter accounts you can follow that'll like alert you whenever stuff opens up, and every now and then they'll release some additional stuff. Or you can try doing like a charity run, which a lot of charity groups, they say like, if you raise X amount of money, we'll give you your bib for free. But there is a springtime surprise race weekend, which is a 5K, a 10K, and a 10 miler, and registration for that is in like 3 weeks, and that's March of next year. So they just announced the theme of it, and it's all heroes. So it's like the Groot 5K, the Hercules 10K. I want to say.
Great. Can't wait to hear I can go the distance 1,000 more times that weekend.
That looks like a fun one. I wasn't thinking about doing it, but I see like Groot is like the 5K, and I'm like, maybe I'll do it. And I have a lot of friends doing it. So if you're interested, March of next year, I might sign up for that one. Registration's coming up in a few weeks. Right. I can get you set up with a group of people who know how to do it.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's do it.
Right.
I'm interested in the 5K. I think that I will try the 5K.
Some vlogging, some jogging journey, some walking journey, some exercise logs.
You can do a live stream. You can do a 5 a.m. live stream. I mean, you could literally...
Oh, I forgot what time it starts. Never mind. I'm out, guys. I'm out.
And so...
No. I have kids. I wake up early in the morning. So
man, if you want to do it, I was thinking about doing it, but if you're down, I'm down. And 100% I'll do that.
Where's your medal rack? Do you have like a big rack of them somewhere?
I have a bag full of medals. I was actually looking. I was like, I should probably have a medal. I've got one right here. Let's see which one this is.
He's got that.
This is. Oh yeah, here we go. This is the little Pluto 5K medal, and so they also that moves up and down. Yay, a little. And so I have. That's the thing. Now I've done this enough where I have a lot of medals that they're kind of. They're meant to go on a wall eventually, and I've seen a lot of cool ways people do that. But one thing is,
But you're like a hobo now with a sack of medals just wandering around.
I'll go to my accomplishments. But one thing they do is they give you a shirt. So they give you a shirt for every race you do, which it sounds cool. It's like, oh, I run my marathon. I got my marathon shirt. But then when you do Dopey, they give you 4 shirts and a Dopey and a Goofy shirt. So you get 6 shirts. And it's like, I don't need 6 shirts. And so I now have so many Run Disney shirts because I've done a lot of these.
Make a Run Disney shirt quilt, baby. I love a shirt quilt.
Maybe I might have to.
There's a local seamstress in your town who is hurting for work. It only costs you $1.50, and she'll do it double-sided, and you'll have a Run Disney blanket that you can then hang as a quilt, as a tapestry, or just throw on the couch. I have a show shirt T-shirt quilt from all of the productions I've done. I love it. I have a Muppet. When I blew out of all my Muppet T-shirts, I kept them in a sack, and now I have a Muppet T-shirt quilt that's really cool. I love it. That's a great way to handle shirts, baby. You're talking to Dan, the king of everyone gives him a T-shirt. You know what I mean? So I have Tupperwares of T-shirts.
At some point in your life, you start turning down T-shirts, and I was like,
T-shirts and tote bags.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. No, thank you. But it's a free shirt. Like, I get it.
Well,
it is. No, thank you.
I don't know about free.
Yeah, well.
It's not free, Jack. I have terrible news for you. I have terrible news.
If you walk by any like college mall in like the beginning of semester, it's like people throwing stuff at you.
Professor life, right?
So
here.
I have a lot of that.
I
stuff.
get that. I understand that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've got a ton of those, and I don't know what to do with all of them. But there's a lot of cool people, or a lot of cool like things people have made, like metal cutouts with like the park icons and stuff. And so, at some point behind me on my wall,
that's a cool display.
I'll do that. So,
can't wait to see it. Is annual pass like is it going to rebirth? Like, will it come back, Jack? Like, what's the deal? So, you and BK. Yeah. I was talking to Nathan. I'm like, we need to get BK on this podcast.
She 100% will do it.
Because BK is amazing. The energy. I had some of the most fun on a podcast when I was with you guys. BK and I tore it up. We were laughing our asses off. And, it was great with you and I. Like, we just connect. It was so much fun. People love Annual Pass.
So Annual Pass, we shut it down, unfortunately, or it wasn't my choice to shut it down, but we shut it down last summer.
I mean, it wasn't just that
ownership. Yeah. Well, I mean, so so Rooster Teeth, like, we did a big restructuring. So, like, during that time, it was like, hey, we're going to move you to a different part of the company. And also, like, we're eliminating some of the podcast. And the podcast was doing well. Don't get me wrong. It was actually doing really well. But in comparison to, like, we had like 20 podcasts at the time. Like, we were on the lower tier of all of the bigger ones. So it was like, they cut it for, whatever reasons. And so
it was very specific niche within a video game network. An entertain, like, it was very specific, but the audience is there,
so,
baby.
I mean, people love podcasts and people love theme parks. So, but anyway, Rooster Teeth itself shut down. We announced in March of this year that we were shutting down, and then in May, Rooster Teeth ceased to exist. So, Warner Discovery shut us down. I have severance right now, so I can't say a whole lot about it. So, anyway, as
it's all right. We weren't looking for juicy Rooster Teeth deets. We were only looking for chafe nip deets.
So
you know what I mean?
So Annual Pass though. So one positive thing about the Warner shutting us down was they offered us the chance to buy any IPs that we were interested in, and so I put a request in for Annual Pass and I obtained it. So I own the rights to Annual Pass.
Batman.
So
you bought Batman
and all the episodes,
all the episodes, all the artwork, anything associated with Annual Pass, I have the full rights to now. So I have it. We've discussed with the team. So myself, Dreamboat Ben, our producer, and BK, and a couple of people, Mally, Shelby, and Gail Fox, who did our art. We've all talked, and we're all interested in doing something. But right now, I'm working on some other stuff that if that goes through, it might be difficult for me to do Annual Pass. So I'm kind of waiting to see how that falls, and then once that's done, then we'll kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I can't wait. In the meantime, I'll just have you and BK as regular guests on my podcast and just steal your audience. No. Be like, all right, guys, there's still Annual Passing. It's just right over here at Fun. Come on down,
it's funny
baby.
Because, so one thing, like with Annual Pass, we had a lot of issues because we were owned by a corporate, a large company, like Warner Discovery owned us. So anytime we wanted to go do cool offsite stuff, or we got invited for things, like we got invited to Halloween Horror Nights like 3 years in a row, and we were like, hey, we're going to live stream from it. And then Warner literally is like, cool, we need a site license to say that you can do that. And you have to get permission to do. And it's just like, no, like, that's not. They're like, no, you need to, because we don't want to be sued. We don't want to be sued by Universal for showing off their IP. And it's like, please. So we couldn't do that stuff. But now we're independent, so we can do whatever we want. So fingers crossed.
I hate that old media nonsense. Like, there are guys who are so locked in. I mean, like, you still see it like with like Lego and Nintendo, who are just so stuck in the mud when it comes to how media works. And I get some of it,
too.
but
there's a
Sure. But just to say that, like, there's just this, and you watch media like that embraces it and how much it pays off, and then you just see other media who's just like, they just live in that. I don't know. We need tort reform, I guess, is all I can say.
That's the next podcast.
Yeah, tort reform. Talk about fun.
BK, tort reform with BK.
Yeah. Oh man, she'd crush that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and like I've now talked with people who sort of work at official parks and whatnot, and like hearing the hoops they have to jump through in order to do stuff. It's just like, it's insanity. Because I was like, hey, why don't you guys do this, and this? And they're like, we would love to. That's almost impossible. And it's like,
half our flavors are trademarked, half of our costumes are trademarked. We can't change anything. It's been approved by 7,000
even think
people.
like Universal is like, if Universal wants to show off stuff in their parks, like, hey, let's walk around and do a live stream. Well, okay, so that's The Simpsons. That's owned by Disney. We have to get permission from Disney to show that. Like, okay, well, hey, that's Men in Black. Well, that's Amblin. So we got to get permission from Amblin. Hey, that's Harry Potter. Well, we got to ask Warner to make sure we're okay to show that. Oh, that's Minions. Okay, well, we'll talk to DreamWorks and see if we can get
nightmare. It's a nightmare.
I mean, them specifically.
It's no wonder they're building Celestial Park in the middle, this non-IP'd land that they're like, come on down, baby. We're filming. We're showing off this Celestial carousel. It's themed off the stars.
And
Remember
that's
when you
like
could buy
school,
one?
like that's old school contracting. I think like any new Epic's lands are going to have far different contracting for this kind of stuff. Yeah.
For sure. And the Universal Monsters of it all, I imagine, gives them so much control. Like, so much control for that, of everything.
It's like Monsters, it's Lost Continent, which nothing exists there, but it's all their IP, and then, like, Jurassic Park. Like, that's like, and then, I guess, Port of Entry.
At least they're not dealing with the...
And Toon Lagoon. Who cares about Toon Lagoon?
I don't think Jay Ward's going to come back and sue you. Toon Lagoon. At least they're not getting involved with any, like, super litigious, hardcore... Japanese companies that could possibly be a bit tricky.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
like
right.
Nintendo. Yeah.
Or when I worked at Warner, like when we got acquired by Warner, they were like, hey, like this is going to be an opportunity for you to work with like other cool IPs in the Warner family. It's like, hey, you want to talk about DC? Like, great, here's a bunch of people to talk with DC about. It's like, Scooby-Doo, do whatever the hell you want with Scooby-Doo. We do not care. Go nuts with Scooby-Doo. And it's like, okay. And it was like, what about Harry Potter? Don't you shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. You do not mention his name. And it was just like, there was literally, it was like a hard wall. Like, don't even think about that. And it's like, okay,
you got to talk. You got to talk to she who must
not
be named if you want to deal with that.
She's busy dealing with Olympic boxers now. So, but yeah, I mean,
well, here on Fun, Jack, we like to end each episode by asking our guest what they're up to, what they're doing for fun.
Absolutely.
Days. When I was preparing for this episode, I thought it'd be funny to write that I was walking for fun. Now, at the end of the episode, I realized that's not really going to pay off as a joke. So, so while I think of a new answer, Nathan, you have here. Okay, what do you have written here?
Back in the day, if you went to a Cracker Barrel in the 90s and 2000s. There was surely a CD machine where you could sample music, and that music was always kind of good quality but not famous artist instrumental works of bluegrass and country vein.
Yeah, and there was like a toddler toy like screen where you could press the button of the album art, right? And it would like play you a sample. Yeah. Did you buy one of these machines or something?
Just so I can listen to 1 30-second vibe. No, So we've talked about this in the past, but I did a thing called the Grizzly Hall Radio Hour, which was a Country Bear themed concept, and it was, thank you so much.
And it's great. It's a masterpiece.
You can find it at bit.ly/ Grizzly Hall Radio Hour. And
notice how Jack didn't compliment it. Only Dan complimented it. So
I'm just a guest.
Appreciate
I'm a guest.
Jack.
Anyway, Doing that, I got really,
That was the best response, Jack. Thank
I've done enough of these that I know what I'm supposed to be when I'm listening and when I'm talking. Thank you.
I really got into bluegrass instrumental. I find where jazz kind of hypes me up, bluegrass turns me down a little bit, and I can work on it. There's the dulcimer as well. There's just something in my Hoosier, Indiana child brain where all this sort of connects. And the company that's behind the majority of this, I just was looking for instrumental bluegrass, and lo and behold, on Apple Music, I'm sure it's all on Spotify, you can find the work of Brian Arnold. I feel like I'm going to get that name wrong. I don't want to get that name wrong. Hold on. I want to make sure I get that right. His name is Craig Duncan. I don't know who Brian Arnold is. But Craig Duncan is someone who does, like, they're studio sessions musicians, basically, right? And Craig Duncan does a lot of guitar stuff and bluegrass stuff, and he does it for this company called Green Hill Instrumental Classics. Now, Green Hill Instrumental Classics was the, I think it's Nashville-based company, and those were the things that were in those Cracker Barrel machines for a long time that you would find. And so you would get like albums such as, I'm going to look up Craig Duncan stuff real quick. One of his newer ones for them is wonderful. It is called Bare Necessities and is instrumental bluegrass renditions of Disney classics, which is very fun. Yeah, it's good times. It's good times.
Cool.
And, but there's all this kind of mix. So it's either you have from Green Hill Classics, you have things like Celtic dance music, tons and tons and tons of bluegrass mountain music for Christmas. So tons of that stuff. But also like Irish music and Scottish music and Cajun music and polka music.
I feel like these people must have had like those music infomercials like back in the 90s too. You know what I mean? Where like lists of songs would cascade up, and certain ones were yellow, and those were the ones we were sampling.
There was a polka album that had sat in my. Remember when you used to have samples in stores? You could just pop into CD players. They're like, here's the sample CD. So I remember back in my evangelical child days, going to the Christian bookstore, and they had this one CD of polka music, which was a big deal for me, because we had Swiss days. I grew up in a town that was based around Swiss immigrants. And so polka music was in my house. Not really, but it was around. And it's Green Hill Instrumental Classics are the ones that did that album. And so I'm unlocking these like weird little moments in my brain. But they also have these tribute albums. So they have a whole Bluegrass Beatles album, a whole John Denver album, a whole like James Taylor.
That are all, it's this classic songs, but bluegrass.
I mean, lots of tribute albums, lots of stuff like that. And then, they've got like hymns and stuff if you want that, but it's very, it's sort of semi, Wilderness Lodge vibes. Man, I'm just in my rocking chair.
Can't beat those vibes.
No, I wish.
Do you own a rocking chair?
I gotta go to Cracker Barrel.
Gotta go to Cracker Barrel. They don't sell these CDs anymore, but they're still selling rocking chairs.
Gotta get myself
baby.
a little stick of sugar, a little swizzle stick, and just sit on my porch and listen to some Green Hill Instrumental Classics.
Just like that scene in The American Adventure.
Absolutely, the same. So that's what I'm into right now. I'm an old 85-year-old man now.
All right, Jack, what are you doing for fun?
I recently got back into Pokemon Go. I can't stop playing Pokemon Go. My wife and I, like, we are now super into it. Played it back in 2016 when everyone, like, it took over the world for like a year. Yeah. So played it back then and then lost, just kind of stopped playing it for a bit. And then earlier this year, I don't know why, I was kind of loaded back up. I was like, oh yeah, I still have this on my phone. I was like, wow, I have this old account, and just kind of started playing a bit. And then they have a thing called Campfire where you can see other people playing, and it's like, hey, we're having a meet up in here, because it's a lot of fun when you're playing with other people. And there's an Austin Pokemon Go community. It's like Austin Pogo, and hundreds of members. And I see at the top, the admin is my buddy Aaron. And I was like, what the hell? And so it was like literally my friend Aaron. And I was like, I texted him like, is this you? And he's like, yeah, that's my secret. I never actually stopped playing. And I was like, what? And then like they had a Pokemon Go Fest, which is like this big worldwide festival. It's like they have this one day where a bunch of cool stuff happens. He was hosting this event at a local mall. We have like one mall in Austin that's still alive. And there were like 600 people there walking around the mall. You saw all these people with like, you know, the little like the iPhone cable plugging in and walking around, and everyone's looking down and moving and going from like gym to gym and stop to stop. And it was like really, really fun. It was like such a fun event. And like they did giveaways and stuff. And so now in my neighborhood, we found a group. There's like a group of like 20 of us that every Wednesday we meet up. We all get in our cars and we drive around. We have like a war party where we drive around to all these different gyms and we like, you know, fight all these things, and then, you know, it's just fun. It's
hilarious.
Such a cool thing.
That's
and
amazing.
It's neat because there's always stuff going on. So even like tomorrow there's an event where they're bringing up like this really difficult Pokemon. So I'm going to show up at like 1:00 at a local park with like 100 other people, and we're all going to, you know, play together and try to catch this thing. So it's neat as an excuse to go outside, amazing. And it's a lot of fun. So
do you have one of those Pokeball keychain things that like catches as you go?
We ended up buying one of those because you know, we would run out of our Pokeballs, and so now we have that, which is auto spin stops for you and stuff. And so we just drive by UT in Austin, and there's just stops everywhere. So literally, you just drive down the street slowly. You know,
living in a college town is great for Pokemon.
And it's just like it loads it up
because like the statue of the founder is a gym.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like the cafeteria is a gym. The bathrooms over by, you know, like the astrology tower is a gym.
Yeah,
it's great. If your college has an astrology tower, I've been watching
Astronomy?
a lot of Hogwarts, Harry Potter, like I said.
Okay.
Yeah. Astrology.
No,
astrology tower. It's just a weird lady. She's got a lot of cats and incense and tarot cards.
JD
she
Vance
gets into
does not like her. Not a fan.
It's
not a fan.
No. If she was a couch, she'd love them.
Hey now.
So
really dating.
This is not a political podcast.
Yeah.
Jack's been spitting out dates left and right. Everyone knows what year we filmed this. I haven't come up with anything fun in the time in which we spent. Nothing. Well, I guess what I'm doing right now is because but I already said this, but it's going further now because I've caught the bug. I've already secured 2 Nickelodeon Blast items. I have a Blast box on its way in right now with the cassette. It's in full working order. It needs to clean, but I got my Nickelodeon Blast box with its AM FM radio. It's gorgeous. And I found a very rare Nickelodeon Blast pencil sharpener with its in a Yikes Nickelodeon Blast partnership. So it's like this neon green and orange. I'm gonna have to screw it to this desk to mount it. You know what I mean? Because it's like a chalkboard pencil sharpener. But now I'm searching hard for a time blaster. But it got me into Nickelodeon vintage lava lamps because of the set. Obviously, like I want more novelty lava lamps. I'd love to be burning $40 an hour in electricity down here.
Dan has to go to his basement an hour and a half before we tape just to start all these lava.
Well, that's why we bulk. I'm looking to get. I should just get one of those like Alexa, outlets to just be like, Alexa, start the lava lamp. Yeah, I feel real like Bruce Wayne. Then maybe like Tony Stark. Yeah, right. But there are some novelty Disney and Nickelodeon lava lamps that I am obsessed with. They are gorgeous. You know, because everyone likes the novelty vintage like Disney snow globes with all of like, you know, the resin creations around like a vat of liquid that you can shake. Forget about those guys. You have to pick those up and move them for them to look cool. Get yourself into vintage, you know, novelty and lava lamps, because you plug that in. These things, I don't have to shake any of these to get them to move. They're just moving all by them. It's like an anthill of goo, you know? And so they have this beautiful Mickey, and there's a Goofy variant. It's like a rocket. It's like designed to look like a rocket, but it's a lava lamp. It's stunning. They're like impossible to find. Every kid must have smashed every lava lamp they owned in 1998 or something. Y2K must have been like some kind of
that's
lava
what we
lamp
lost.
book burning
we all thought,
piles.
We all thought
like
Y2K nothing
the
happened,
Deep South.
but all lava lamps disappeared. Yeah,
we lost the lava lamps. We lost all our lava lamps. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And the last thing I'm going to say, there was a Nickelodeon. The first Squishmallow Hatchimal. I think I might have brought this up, but I found one. It's a brain ball. Do you remember the Nickelodeon brain ball? It was a football shaped like a human brain, and it was like kind of squishy, like Nerfy. I found, oh my God, it is an ungodly price because they must have kept this thing hermetically sealed to keep the squish for 20 years. But it's tempting. My God, I was playing with it in my basement as a kid, and I threw it, and it got stuck in the rafters and disappeared. I never found it again. It's rotting. There's a brain ball rotting in my parents' basement, like HVAC system right now. But I found one on eBay. That's what I'm still looking for weird stuff for my set. I'm just obsessed. I'm obsessed with lava lamps right now. Novelty 90s lava lamps. That's what I've been doing for fun, I guess. So, well, this has been fun.
Yeah.
I've had fun. Jack, you're fun. Nathan, you're fun. I'm fun. The Chuckle King's always fun. The Chuckle King lives in an eternal fugue state of fundom. This has been
Jack,
great. This has been
if
fun,
people
fun,
want
fun.
to check out what you're up to, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I stream on Twitch a few days a week over at twitch.tv/Jack Pattillo, JackPattillo.
Lorcana boys.
Yeah, I play a lot of Lorcana. I'm doing Magic the Gathering. I open cards. I'm over on Twitch or on Twitter as well. It's twitter.com/Jack_P if you want to follow me over there, or Instagram. It's Instagram.com/Jack Pattillo. So yeah, I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I'm working on a few things right now that are kind of going on. I've got a big charity event coming up in November called Extra Life that I do every year. We're going to be doing that again. And so should be a good time. So yeah, keep an eye out. I play a lot of video games.
If I can help at all with Extra Life, man, please let me know. I'd love to participate.
Man, absolutely. I'd love to have you.
I love Extra Life, you know. And your Instagram is great.
Thank you.
By the way, your Instagram and your Twitter is full of gems of hilarious things. I really enjoy your social media. It's always a joy.
Like my platform on Twitter is so much bigger than Instagram, so I'm just like achingly trying to get off of it and move over to Instagram. But it's like you get old habits, so I'm trying to move to Instagram now more.
And no one's on Threads.
And then Threads, and then there was like Blue Sky, and then there was a news one for anyway. There was so many different ones that popped up, like Mastodon. Anyway, yeah, I'm everywhere though.
Doesn't everyone know social media is ruining the world? Why are we inventing new ones?
I think we're trying to avoid certain ones.
You can find Jack on Truth Social. Huge over there.
True.
Thanks for coming, Jack. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks for trying to convince me. I think you did. I think you successfully
convinced me. Let's do the 5K in March, man. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see if it'll be fun. I don't know. I'm on the fence if it'll be fun. But I think all the character experiences is what makes it fun. And the community is what you're saying, I think, is really the fun part. Is like hanging out with like-minded people who just want to vibe. And I think that is where you can have the most
We will embrace
fun.
you for sure.
And I like how we have you framed in such a way that no one can see the massive shelf of card folders and boxes you have behind you because
way too much.
You're going hard on Twitch,
I'm cleaning it up
man.
right now too, for what it's worth. I'm bringing in new shelving, so I'm slowly removing this stuff and bringing in my new stuff. So it's messy.
But I'm gonna dial into Twitch and watch you crack them packs, baby. What's your rarest enchanted Lorcana?
Oh, I've got an Elsa.
What do you got right
I've got
now?
an Elsa from the first set.
What?
Is she over here?
We were just talking about Elsa, Nathan, on the last episode.
What this order is.
Well, you know, true fans will know. True fans will know.
There's Along Came Zeus.
I got that one. I just cracked that one.
The Diablo I got from the new set.
Whoa,
and then here's the big girl. She this card right now is worth between $1,200 and $1,500, I think, or at least it was.
That's a RunDisney right there, man.
We did a whole episode with Rob.
Yeah, that's
a RunDisney, right? There she is.
Big Tink.
Jack, give me that
Big
card.
Tink?
I'll trade you. I do want I want an enchanted Big Tink. I'll buy it from you. I want that so
bad. If we dive
bad.
into Lorcana, I don't know if you've seen, but they're changing up the enchanteds for the 5th set, which is coming out in a couple of weeks. And they're
what are they doing?
art, beautiful cards. They look so good.
Yeah. But what they're changing, just the art. They're changing how they're doing art on enchanteds.
So cool. There's Alice and. I mean, yeah.
My God. Yeah, I have 3 big tinks. I have a hollow big tink and 2 regular big tinks. And I would love to round up the set with an enchanted.
Dan,
you're swinging it when you big tinks, man.
Big tink.
Yeah, I got a big tink kink. That's for sure.
That's my enchanted Arthur signed by the artist who did it, and it's he put a 3 on there because it's the 3rd one he ever signed, the third enchanted one he ever signed. So.
Oh, actually, I like that style to be like, I'm gonna number my signatures. That's cool. That guy has a lot of confidence.
So, eventually, I want to send all
God
these off to
bless
get
that
like graded and whatnot, so they're in a nice slab, so I don't have to worry about them. But that's expensive to do. So
you want to put your awesome cards in chastity belts? You don't want to play with them?
Like, where is it? I have. I've got a Magic card I recently got back from being graded, and I don't know.
From PSA?
It's CGC, which is another company that does it. And where the heck did I put it? I have it around here somewhere.
He lost
This has been Jack looks for things.
Oh, there it is.
Like this guy. So this is a card. It's Ice Storm, a Magic the Gathering card. So this card's from 1993, and it's a pristine tin. So pretty nice.
Whoa! Congratulations! You must have been thrilled to get that. So
yeah, it was nice. Like actually, there's a guy I watch online who does card openings, and so I bought into his card opening, and he opened up a starter deck, and it was like you randomly would be given a card, and so this card's actually worth probably about $400 maybe as a pristine tin. There's not many of these that exist, so.
And you posed for the artwork, which is
weird because in 1993, when I was 11 years old, I had a full beard.
They knew, you didn't have. Yeah. They knew the beardage would come. They knew.
Pretty cool stuff, though. Yeah, but I do card openings.
Thanks for sharing us your enchanted
I do card
cards,
openings
man.
like on Tuesdays typically. So mostly Magic, but like doing Lorcana whenever I get that, and it's kind of just whatever random stuff I find. I love finding weird stuff. Like I got big into Thor: Love and Thunder cards for a while, where it's like. It's great, and they have like here's Jane Foster riddled with cancer. It's like okay, so
oh no, there's a Jane Foster with cancer card.
I've got like special variants of that card.
What a great way to end the podcast! Everyone thinking about Jane Foster with cancer as a trading card. Great, this has been fun.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys, for watching.
This has been a production of 710 Media.